Here we go.
Okay, so from the introduction perspective, really quickly, the margin paradox, you're always looking on procurement and the traditional areas, how to reduce costs, while AI suggests a new perspective and an opportunity to reduce costs. The theme is obviously margin from this perspective. The pain one, quick question for you. Human teams cannot keep up with the massive data sets and the basis there. Just really interested with regards to what your view is about data and, how do humans actually keep up today?
I don't think that's a great question. I don't think they can, and I think that's why AI or any advanced technology is going to help. I think that healthcare got really good at, and we still struggle, to be honest. I think you mentioned something earlier on cyclical. I think when we're constantly negotiating contracts for pacemakers, I was joking with someone yesterday, office supplies. We do RFPs every 3 years on office supplies. I don't, how productive is that? Why do we keep doing it every 3 years? Are we saving 10% every year? I don't know who's watching those numbers. And I think, so we do a better job with tangible goods. We do a better job with consumables, implants. But I think there's still huge opportunity there.
But really, the question is centered purely on the people. So what are you doing now? I understand that. And the key question is, if everyone's out there today watching costs, and we got people talking about laying off FTEs, left, right, and center, how are you trying to actually control this, and what are the other things that you're doing?
I think that's why we're partnered with companies like yourself. I think we are struggling. So I could speak for Christiana. We have a few individuals with good experience. They're going after the categories. They know how to dig into the data. It's hard to replicate that. That comes with individuals that have been doing this job for years. So I think we have to, today in the PPI space, I would say we're still doing that pretty traditionally. I can speak for the indirect space and some of the stuff that we're evaluating with yourself. And I think there's an opportunity to automate the contract review, automate the invoices, see what reduction you're expecting out of a contract, and then monitor it, right? And then pick a KPI and have your systems track it versus humans weaving through invoices trying to do the analysis. I think, so that's what we're doing today, I think, but it's hard to repeat. It's very people-oriented. It's experience-oriented. So how do you normalize it across a team of 10 people?
But this is my point, right? You're controlling how much of an organization's cost.
Well, in supply chain, supplies alone are probably 25, 30%. Purchase services another 30%. And then you got pharmacy leaders watching pharmacy, which is 25%.
Right.
So you try to look at it all. I don't know if we're doing it all effectively, right?
But as a percentage of revenue, what would that total cost structure that you're managing, what would that look like?
As a percentage of revenue?
Yeah, like...
typically expenses 30%.
Yeah. So 10 people. So do you struggle to actually get that sort of, I would call, voice at the table with the chief executive to say, hey, I've got 10 people that really, their expertise is unique and it's individual. How do you try and really bring that out to say, hey, if you invested X now, I can control the cost better. And then, this is my historic problem.
Yeah.
What's the key challenge that you have there?
I think those conversations have been good. I think right now where we're struggling is the people aspect. I think recruiting talent is challenging in this market. I think, thank goodness, our leadership has seen the value that supply chain is driving. We would drive more if we had the right skill set and the experience. I think to prove out that supply chain is actually reducing the expense, you got to start mapping it to budget. I think mapping it to budget, but also aligning with volumes and revenue, and that part of the strategy becomes challenging as well, right? So sometimes expenses go up because volume is up, but then you're still looking for savings, right? Or like the budget, you weren't able to reduce it. So something that ties that all together is always going to be helpful. But I would say justifying value to your CFO, you got to prove it out, start small. I think we've done that at Christiana. We did that at Rush when I was there with Jeremy. But I think my biggest struggle is if I got 8 people looking at category spends, how effective are they at reviewing the category? They're all maybe doing it differently. And then what tools can we implement? It's almost like robotic surgery. That's a good analogy, right?
Yeah.
So you got a new fellow graduate, he's ready to practice. You grab a Mako or any orthopedic robot. Now they can perform that surgery at a level of maybe a surgeon who's been doing it 20 years, right?
Yeah.
So that's what robotics tries to do on the clinical space. We need technology to do that for procurement leaders.
Yeah.
We need a tool that's going to normalize everyone's skill set and be able to identify reductions.
I saw an article just recently, right, where now they're saying that robotic surgery is actually going to be performed by one person, but they're actually going to perform multiple surgeries at one particular time. And I think there's these hospitals that are saying just have one surgeon, lots of robots operating
Multiple rooms.
in multiple rooms
That
at the
makes
same
sense.
time.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So same thing with regards to you guys.
Yeah, I would say that's a really good analogy because that's the struggle. I got 5 category managers and they're all doing it differently. Are they going after the right space? Are they asking the right questions? Right? Are they looking at the right metric? So I have a new leader at Christiana, and he's been able to dig deeper because his strategy is I would say a little unique. He's looking at invoices. That's what you do, right?
Hey, don't take my job. And anyway, he's a bulldog as well.
Yeah, he
right?
is a bulldog. He is a bulldog. But he's not so worried about PO data. He's looking at the invoices and what's hitting the GL. So that's a great approach. But he's the one guy doing it on my team. So like, how do we take that experience and replicate it? So obviously, old school methods of coaching, mentoring, but the targets are aggressive. We're moving fast. So technology has to help. It has to enable our teams to move faster.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm leaning on. That's my North Star. Yeah. It's technology, automation, and then insights, data insights that can be brought to us to make decisions.
Yeah. But these massive data sets that are actually coming out, and is everyone recognizing that they are new data sets, or are they, constantly just still looking in the traditional way of, I've got my Excel spreadsheet, I'm going to try and transport whatever's on there into...
It's mostly Excel. That's absolutely right.
Well, you got 5 more seconds that you give a view with regards to this.
Yeah, it's mostly Excel. I'm not seeing a lot of advanced analytics, so we need an upgrade.
Okay. The second question, Luis, that I'm actually going to pose to you is all about fragmented data kills margin recovery. Unstructured data from multiple data sources, traditional data models slow the process down and provide no context. Positioning implication, labor intensive for procurement to get the right answer quickly. Traditional procurement, gather data, analyze data, discover outcome to be positioned. AI versus AI, absorb the data, produce the outcome. So the question really comes around fragmented data kills margin recovery. Can you just give your perspective on, one, the question that's actually the statement, and then 2, how you addressing it?
So if I'm hearing the question correctly, it's around what are we doing about fragmented data and how does it impact our cost or revenue potentially? Yeah. It's so some of your statements there are there's kind of the answer. So I think about multiple situations. I think about surgery, OR. I think about capital, which I'm dealing with a lot right now. It is the epitome of fragmented data, right? So I know what I'm buying. I know what implants I'm buying. I know what implants I'm contracting. Potentially, I got the right leader, the right partner. Then we're also looking at the invoices. But then you think about the billing side. Are we billing the right item? We bought this item. Are we billing for it appropriately? Are we charging for it appropriately? Are we buying more than we're charging for? And those are tough questions. Then you got preference cards. Then you got procedural costs. And like you said, you kind of alluded to it. I think about how much time we spend in trying to get the right data sets from multiple systems, then connect it all in a way that makes sense. So again, it goes back to talent. Do you have the individual on your team that can do that quickly and put it together? Or do you make the investments and have it there at your forefront, right? And that's really the difference. Like a lot of, there is AI that is very advanced, that it wouldn't make any sense to hire a human to do. And then there's some AI that's maybe practical. What it does is it gives you efficiency, right? But it's huge efficiency. So when I think about something like preference cards, surgical costs, and then tying that back to revenue and expense, someone can do that on my team. The question is, how long is it going to take, right? And then how much opportunity cost or revenue did we lose in the meantime? 3 months later, now we created a Power BI dashboard. It looks great, it works, but it took 3 months, right?
I think that's the most interesting part, right, about that, because you can try and create that, and then you just try to work out the project's going for 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and then it goes for a month, 2 months. Then the Power BI dashboard's actually produced, and then are you using it post all of that?
Exactly.
Do you look at that, from a fragmented data perspective of when you're actually bringing this all together, what are the gaps you're also looking for? Because, sometimes you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah. So how do I know what I don't know? I think that happens typically organically. I think I'm doing it. The team's doing it right now. I think the bigger question I'm asking is, do I need to do this manually today? Bring something to leadership. It's like, this is what happens when you connect certain things. We didn't know how long it was taking us, so that's something that's happening now. What is the turnaround time for a capital requisition? From the moment it was approved, then the request was made, how long is it taking to now cut the PO? And it's becoming a pressure point for us where our senior leaders want to spend the money. They want to improve our mission. They want to grow service lines. It's a good thing. And unfortunately, sometimes we become a bit of a bottleneck. So I think in that instance, my immediate approach is going to be Power BI, connecting a few data sets. But I'm trying to use that as the carrot. So it's like, here's an example where we had to work internally with the team. We're building something, but maybe in the future we could just like implement something and have it be done for us so we can actually start making decisions. But I might have to prove it out initially, a little bit old school, and bring it in. This one's not as massive. It's actually a much simpler example compared to surgical or compared to purchase services and invoicing. But yeah, so I think when we don't know what we don't know, I'm trying to think of a more recent example. But I think the ones that I'm thinking about now, the ones that I'm living this week is, what is being held? Why is it being held? Why, how many capital dollars are being held up by a VP, by a service line? How many requests? We've been living this.
You don't know that?
Not right now. No, we're organizing that data this week. And we have systems that I know are available off the shelf that can help fix that quickly. And that's not even AI. That's just software. But now there can be AI in the background behind that. So it's, to your point, it's disparate systems. It's frustrating. And now with this age where we have AI, advanced analytics, machine learning working in the background, digging in to build something, you can kind of, from a Lean Six Sigma or from a Lean perspective, you can kind of view it as a no value added step. How much value is it to spend 3 months building something versus having it ready and then actually acting on it? Right? I think you can make that argument now.
You can make that argument, but I suppose who's going to listen is going to be the other situation. In many instances, when we talk about disparate data sets, you go and present the business case, through to the stakeholder, and then the stakeholder says, "Have you considered this?" And then you go, "No, I didn't." Right? And primarily because the data set hasn't actually been available. Now, when we actually talk about trying to clean it up and getting all these data sets together and trying to actually build that business case, all the traditional methods that are there, what's your thought processes on how do you actually try and bring all those, let's say, hidden gems of information into one spot?
Well, I think, again, that's where you can try to do that on your own as an IDN, but you're only as good as your own data. When you partner with someone that has most other customers, and again, we have to be smart. Not everything has to be a partnership, but you want to normalize data across other IDNs to start finding patterns and normalization of data, nomenclature.
Everyone's so precious about their data, though, right?
They are.
Do you think that's a valid proposition in today's environment?
I think so. I hear about this. I personally have not run into that from my perspective. Supply chain. I think in supply chain we benefit more from sharing data and normalize. I mean, that's what benchmarking is, right? You do some benchmarking, and plenty of companies do benchmarking on the widget side. So that's a win. We need hospitals to share that so we can all get directional information on how to improve our spend. I think that if there's an opportunity for your organization to turn your data into a profit center, then maybe you have to be careful with that. I personally have not encountered that.
Right.
I think in supply chain, you want to identify patterns and categories.
Oh, you got that first one. Now, pain point number 3. Leakage is continuous. Avoidance must be continuous. Premise. Until you get avoidance under control and monitored constantly, you have to always go back to the recovery stage.
Okay.
You and I had this conversation that you deploy consultants, they look back 3 years, they come back
for the same categories.
Yeah, same categories, and then tell you that they can save you squillions of money based on your historical spend. So, simple question with regards to this is, how do you get that under control?
Yeah, so I love this question. This has been coming up a lot. So that's the paradigm shift. And it's hard to have these conversations, but we're so focused on a target, right? So supply chain needs to save $10 million this year, $20 million, whatever your number is, right? And we use these basic algorithms that, they were good intentioned. So we're going to look at forecasted spend, renegotiate a price point, assume it's going to be similar, and there's your savings. But then when you do that, you projected out $20 million in savings, but yet you don't see it come out of your actual expense structure. Maybe a percentage of that actually comes out, maybe 50%. So how do we convince people that the investment with avoidance, because avoidance isn't sexy. People don't like talking about cost avoidance. It's cost savings, right?
I know.
So
because sometimes, let's say, customers won't pay for avoidance.
Exactly. Yes, it's true, because I'm being measured on savings. So I think that's absolutely right. But I think that's a cool opportunity, a great opportunity to pivot the market, because we do need to get there. I think that if next time, when there's a new contract cycle, pick a few categories, bring it to your executives, and demonstrate why avoidance is more important, right? Maybe we don't RFP office supplies again, or services, right? Like, again, it's always waste management, document storage. It's been the same categories for the 20, freight, courier. It's like, okay, sure, do it. But it's like, if you can implement a contract, an RFP, do it once, implement the KPIs, implement AI, implement continuous auditing, let the system do it for you. This is like something exciting that we've been talking about. And if you can have the AI monitor that now the new invoice is coming in, the PO going out, match that up to the contract that was signed 60 days ago, do that for 36 months, have that, and obviously monitor every quarter. Are you meeting the goals you thought you were going to meet?
Doesn't it actually transition and transform procurement if you go down that particular route? Because no longer are you going to have to look back for the last 12 months, 2 years or 3 years. The only thing you're going to have to do is negotiate new terms, update that in your contract, and then that should be reflected.
That's a good point. Yeah, you'll be able to pivot more in real time versus trying to catch something years later, right? Yeah. So if something changed, so like if your costs spike, whatever your KPI is, so, how much are we spending on waste removal per month? And if there's a spike and it's legitimate, then all right, let's renegotiate the contract, let's update the KPI, or is there waste happening, and let's correct it.
Yeah.
And I think we can do that in the implant space. Yeah. Right? So it's like, what are, because that happens a lot in implants, right? So you looked at historical, but now implant utilization or physician behavior is now changing your cost structure. And sometimes we don't catch that until it's up for RFP again. Yep. So again, could you monitor that in real time and pivot on a monthly or weekly basis? And now you're monitoring your total cost structure. And to your point, you could pivot and react faster.
Yeah. But, when we talk about leakage, people think that the clinical side is more under control because, it's more regulated. There might be manufacturing product codes that are assigned. You have, unspec codes assigned. So you can typically manage that more effectively versus purchase services, which it's, the Wild West with regards to that.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So I think with tangible goods, with widgets, we're doing better. I would argue that for sure we're doing better. But purchase services and capital, construction, anything where the invoices are more ambiguous and it's an itemized, for sure we're struggling. I can't imagine, if you look under that hood, I mean, there's a reason why we do the same categories over and over again, right? Yep.
To keep you guys employed?
Yeah. It's job security for
sure.
Job
security.
Yeah. But it's not fun, to be honest. I like this conversation because I envision that very soon, I think there's already opportunities today. We have to do a paradigm shift there. It's not effective. The vendors have way more data. They're winning. Like we claim we're saving money, but their margins are growing every year. Their stock's going up. So they're obviously selling more. Yeah. So something's not lining up. We think we're saving money, and I think we curve it. We curve it a little bit, but not to the extent that we think. Right. Like that $1 million target might be 500,000. Yeah. In actual real savings. Yeah. So I think that's where AI is going to be huge.
So what's your view then with regards to the top areas that you need to focus on from a leakage perspective, because that's one side, and then top areas that you think avoidance can actually be used from?
So top avoidance, it should be, I think we're further ahead on implants and consumable goods, surgical, IR. I think we're in a time now where we can come close to perfecting that, and we should. It's directly care. It impacts patient care, the physician, the surgeon's hand, what they're using, and then right behind that is going to be purchase services. I actually had a conversation this week with one of my leaders. You know, healthcare got really excited when we learned that purchase services is 30% of your spend, and then so we've allocated resources towards it. I'm not sure if the ROI is there if we're still doing the same categories over and over again. And I think I'm getting much more comfortable partnering on the indirect side because like we were talking about this last night with a leader here in Chicago. If you got 2 category managers or indirect, how good are they? They can negotiate a office paper company or office supply contract versus a complicated IT contract or a complicated consulting agreement.
Yep.
Right? Like that's a very different skill set. And unless you're really diving in, I don't know how good your team is going to get at that. So maybe purchase services, it's not our sweet spot, or maybe there's a few categories that we're good at.
Yep.
Maybe reference lab, right? And that's probably more direct. But partner with the right firms, get data, automate that, and move towards avoidance. You know, and find a partner that maybe can help you negotiate specific expensive categories, and focus on capital. I think capital and widgets we're not bad at. We can negotiate an MRI, we can negotiate a CAT scan, and then sometimes that stuff falls behind because it's not technically operational savings, so we don't prioritize capital, right? So I would say
that in itself is a problem statement that you've just said.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, don't want to penalise you. Good one.
Yep.